Running a small co-working space means wearing too many hats all the time. Community builder, marketer, bricklayer, chef, therapist, all at once. It's exhausting. I'm exhausted even just saying that line. That's why we started the Community Builder cohort. It's where people who run small spaces can stop spinning their wheels and start making real progress. One member slashed their admin hours with a simple workflow shift. Another finally launched that newsletter they've been putting off for months and months. And yet another one hosted a Sunday market that reignited their local community. So if you are sick of fighting it out alone, check the Community Builder cohort link in the show notes or get in touch with Emily or me directly. Hello, folks, wherever you are in the world today. It is another Co-working Values podcast. And here we have in the studio, my luxury Vigo studio is Manuel Conti. So, Manuel, what are you known for and what would you like to be known for?
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Bernie. I would like to be known to be a nice person. I think that is probably the most interesting thing that I would like to be known for. But more specifically, I am in tech since more than 20 years, and I am in the flexible industry and co-working industry since 2016. I worked at Regus at WG before, where I had left many friends, and now I am building with my good friend and business partner Simon Pont, and where we really try to work with operators to make sure that we can create the best experience for everyone who use a co-working or a flexible office area.
We were chatting. We were probably chatting longer than this podcast is going to be before we got here. And what's hanging around my head is, and it's not just this conversation we do all the time. We have more tech and flow and everything, automation than ever before. But we seem to be like, we don't seem to have more time. I think we do more, but what's your opinion, I think is the word I'm looking for, on that relationship we have as co-working space people and human beings between spending all this time in tech and spending all this time with each other? Because it seems that we're spending more time staring at tech and data than we are interacting.
Yes, and of course, I'm a techie person. I'm a geek inside, so I love tech. But it's something that really is a sort of continuous thought that comes to my mind, is that are we why we're using tech in this way? What is the purpose? What is the outcome that we're expecting out of this? And something that I notice is I actually posted this yesterday, is where we are all obsessed with KPIs and things, and I came across the Goodhart's law, where when the measure becomes the objective, it loses the meaning of the measure. So when we try to focus on, I need to have more revenue. Give me all the data I have with this, or give me all the data I have about customer satisfaction. Then we lose the focus and the importance of why we're doing this. And we are running now since early January, and we're going to run this survey for operators until end of February. And we're trying to understand what are the biggest challenge that operators face and what are the big opportunities that they see for 2025. And the biggest challenge, I was amazed how most of the people who respond to the survey said, we need more data. We need to have the more data to understand the customer behavior and things like that. And my first reaction is, why do we need this data? Because we can have all the data on the world. We can use IoT and sensor and locks and everything and phone positioning. We have all the tech to give us those data, but why are we using those data, and what is the purpose? And my personal opinion, as you asked my opinion, is that tech should it's not about what we do more, but is about what we remove, is the friction we remove. The fact that we have Teradata, terabytes of data there. It doesn't make the experience for the person better. So I think that in order to know how the people who walks in our co-working is experiencing the space, the best thing is to ask the person, is to have a proper human conversation about it, and rather than say, listen, oh, I need to have all the data on the world. Data is important. I love data, and I think being able to take a data-driven decision, it's important. But we should not forget about the important metrics. Is that okay? What is the connection that I can establish with that human being? And I don't want to sound too romantic, but I think it's important because at the end of the day, when people come to co-work with someone, it's because they want to stay with other people, and it's not just about sitting on a desk.
There's a lot of. There was an article. This is nothing what we talked about before, so get ready. So there was an article in the Atlantic about how we're like the most isolated generation ever, and what really got my attention is like Teresa from Patch in London and Alex Hillman from Indie Hall and someone else who my name escapes me all posted about this article at the same time, and they're all in co-working, and they all said how like because one of the things Derek says in the article is an example in the article is him and his family go to this neighborhood Mexican restaurant and half the bar stalls are moved because people come in and pick up to go food. So, and they come in like one at a time. And he describes in the article how they're like just obviously one person meals. It's not someone coming to pick up, a whole family pack. And then he goes into like how we eat alone. We used to go to the cinema together, and now we sit up. The likelihood of me, sitting at home watching a movie with a takeout dinner rather than going out with my friends to the cinema is tragically more likely to happen. And we've kind of automated everything. And there's an English guy, John Ruskin, has this thing he was writing in like the 19th century, which is about how we're so obsessed with speeding up space and time, we are losing our connection. This was like 200 years ago. We're like losing our connection with each other and nature because we're so obsessed with like, that's the thing, speeding up space and time. Did anything pop into your head there?
Yes. First of all, I haven't read the article of the Atlantic, although I love the Atlantic and their podcast. But what you said was actually there is an anthropologist, a French anthropologist who died a couple of years ago, or maybe more. I don't remember. But anyways, his name is Marc Auger, and he wrote the book of an ethnologue in the subway. I don't know how to translate this in English, but he was his experience that he did on the French subway, where people were more and more over the years isolating themselves, and who people with the Walkman or people were staring at the empty and the emptiness and not interacting with each other. And I think is beside not trying to do the cliche, but it's clear that we are self-isolating, and technology is responsible as part of the responsibility for this, right? So I was having a conversation with one of my kids that he's a teenager, and I don't remember. I just told him, I said, okay, are you phoning your friend for something? I said, no, I'm not phoning. Why should I phone here? Because you can speak to the person. Oh, no, I'm just going to left a voice note. And that, as silly as it can sound, it represents well that, how, technology provides something very good, like, the capabilities of leaving a voice note, which is good. But then you can just call the person rather than start ping-ponging voice notes to each other. So this is where I think is important, for people like me who, we make our living with technologies, that the technologies needs to deliver value and make sure that, we don't just do things right, but we do the right things, which is not my quote, by the way, is Randy Posh from the book The Last Lecture. And I don't want to, to sound too obvious, but I think it's something that we should pay more attention. And this go back to, to the conversation we were having before about, what is the meaning of hospitality, and how people do not remember what they're told or what they, receive in the message. People remember how they feel. And if we are able to make people feel welcome, and we make people feel heard and be there for someone else, that is going to stick with that person, and this is why they're going to come back. If you're just someone walking by and, we don't feel heard or listen, then, it's just going to go away. And because, to your point, we are more and more self-isolating because of this tech, and because we all have, all of us, me first, our nose all the time on our phone. This is not helping, so it becomes a sort of vicious circle.
There's there's a whole thing about like in that around that whole unreasonable hospitality thing about people being seen, and there is, there's like a commercial advantage to paying attention to people. And there's Seth Godin talks to us about a lot, is that um paying attention, there's a price to pay and stuff like that. And it seems like the all you have to do nowadays to get the edge in business is to pay attention to people and not automate them. And when I know, this is why I really like co-working operations or businesses or spaces that are less than 150 people, because then you get to know everybody in the building. And I know that's the magic Dunbar number, but when people go, we've got 9,000 people in our spaceship in the middle of the city, I'm like, I don't want to be in a building with 9,000 people. I was in this online platform to learn with, and we would go to calls, and the information was amazing, but there was like 500 people on every call, and it was very well organized, very well automated. All their onboarding was like amazing, and I was like wildly jealous. But when I got to the call, it was like being at a football match and listening to an announcer. And I think where I was going with that, so I was rambling, but like, they weren't doing anything wrong, and they'd obviously put loads of effort into it, and it was scalable, but it was so impersonal, and the chat moved at 100 miles an hour, and I just didn't want to have anything to do with it. And I'm not annoyed at them, because they obviously knew what they were doing, but it was just so disconnected, and I don't think that was their intention.
Oh, no, no, absolutely. And I think, there is always good intent when trying to do these things. And actually, kudos to people who are able to organize such big, calls and events. But again, it goes back to, why are we doing this? And earlier we were chatting about, if you go back to the point of tech, and something that I'm forcing myself, and I also ask to, people who work with me on always doing, is that, very often we talk about features when we deliver something. Oh, this platform has ABC feature, and those are the new feature that this amazing release has delivered to our users. And I I don't think that is the right approach. And I know that with age we get nuance, and there is no black and white. There is more gray there. But I think we should not, first of all, talk about users, because we're discussing this before. There are people on the other side of the screen. And second, we should not, in my opinion, talk about features, but we should talk about leading capabilities. And I'm not trying to make this a semantic point. English is not my first language, so I'm not trying to show that I know many words in English. But shifting from features to leading capabilities is trying to answer the question: what value are we delivering to the person that is using our platform? What are the values that we are delivering to the person who walks in our co-working space? What value are we bringing, right? And this goes again to to the point of earlier of Randy Pausch. We don't not trying to do things right, but trying to do the right things, because I'm sure that the call you mentioned with 500 people was done right, and was well executed and well prepared, and a lot of people put a lot of effort. Was it the right thing? And I don't have the answers, and I'm always skeptical when go today in social media, and now we are in the AI moment where people makes prediction and things, because I I I kindly admit that I don't know all the answer for many of those things, but I think we should ask more questions, and try to identify, okay, what are we delivering, what value are we bringing.
Yeah, there's that future thing there. Every time someone says that, every time I hear the word "future of work," I think of a guy called Neil Usher, and he's been on this podcast, and he talks a lot about space design and work environments and everything like this. And one of the reasons I first really enjoyed following him, like more than 10 years ago, is people would go with the future of work, and he's like, and his little cute line was like, the future of work is in the present, because we're always trying to predict what will happen in our office environment in 10 years time. And really, there's like human beings in this building today, and you're missing the point if you're worrying about something that's going to happen in 10 years time in that room, and not paying attention to the people in that room interacting with each other at this moment in time. And I mean, I know someone needs to do it, and I don't want to do it, but it is exhausting, this whole future of work conversation. And if you're going to invest, £1 billion in a building, you probably do want to be thinking about the future of work. But most people in co-working are running a small or micro business, and I think they should spend more attention to the people in their building than whether we're going to have a spaceship landing dock in our co-working space by the end of the year. Sorry, ran out of words there.
No, no, no. So I think you are you are spot on. So one of the person who it resonates a lot of what he says is Tom Goodwin, who is a marketeer and a keynote speaker, and he wrote the book of all we have is now, and it is correct. And again, it's difficult because it's always a balance, right? So the people who have a co-working, they're running a micro business, which means that they need to make a living, they need to generate revenue, they need to increase the margin, because that will allow them to live and to provide a better service for that. But at the same time, if you project too much on the future, we try to get all the data, all the features and everything, but we miss the importance of connection, of providing a good service. And I think that is pointless. Unfortunately, it's going to be pointless if we just try to focus on what can I do more, what can I do tomorrow, what is going to look like in 5 years. Let's try to really make sure that we use Stack to spend more time with humans. That's probably one something that I'm trying to think about it, and also what I'm discussing with our customers. And okay, we don't want to provide technology that is gonna blow your mind because it looks like magic. Yeah, I mean, this is nice, it's fine, and it's important. We want to make sure that provide you know we provide the tech for people to spend more time with each other. I think
There's
mhm.
Yep. Sorry, had you finished there? Sorry,
Yeah, 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 yes, 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 of course.
I'm all like jacked up. I was, as you were talking, I was looking at my phone, and like listening to you and I don't mean looking at my phone, checking my email, but like this, I think I've got an iPhone 13 Pro, um, and I don't know what one we're on now, but like this is the longest I've kept a phone, and it works really well. Like every app on there does something, and I do a lot of video and podcasting and blogging, and there's something else I use on there, and Chat GTP and stuff, and like it's super efficient and it works really well, even though it's really old. And then but like I was just thinking of like how many different things I've tried, and I think you have to try a lot of tech, and there's been so many to work out what the right thing is for you. But there's so many times where I've been on projects and we've signed up to Salesforce and HubSpot because we're going to crush it, and then we spent more time trying to work out those platforms. And I know people personally that like have made millions and millions of pounds because they know how to use HubSpot properly, and they have someone sitting in their office that knows how to do it. And then I've met loads of startup founders and co-working space owners that get a bit of budget or a bit of investment, and they go, right, we're going pro now, we're going to get sign up for Salesforce and HubSpot, and they just drown in it. And it's like they're buying a Nissan Patrol 4x4 to drive around the corner to school. Like it's really over specified for their needs. And then I see, and I've definitely been this person, I'll sort of go to some conference. There was like 10 years ago, there were all these there's a whole thing about big data, which you would probably like the thing everyone said all the time was big data. And
Yeah.
I wanted to find out what big data was because it seemed everyone was talking about it. So I go to all these meetups about big data, and I still couldn't tell you what big data is.
Yeah, you know what the expression was. I mean, I do remember I was at probably similar conference, and big data is like sex for young teenagers. Everybody talks about it, but nobody knows how it works. Um, and yes, I agree with you. Um, we we need to make sure that when we add tech, we do not add tech to do the wrong things faster and more automated than more efficient. Okay, oh, our productivity increased by X%, which is great. But if you're still doing the wrong things, then what's the point? I want to use tech to do the right things. I want AI to help me, understand what I'm doing wrong. I don't want AI to help me doing faster what I'm doing today or cheaper, because if what I'm doing today is not the right thing, then it's pointless.
What was that? Somewhere online, I saw you write something about so many people in a building or a team you interviewed or something spent a huge percentage of their time working on stuff that didn't contribute to the customer experience, or there was some line like that you wrote.
Yes, so we have done a lot of research. We keep in doing a lot of research, and we spoke. I think what you're referring to is it was a conversation I had with an operator. I don't remember if it was in Asia. I spoke recently with someone in the Philippines, but where they saw that actually their teams were spending a lot of times on doing things that deliver zero value to their customers. And someday woke up and said, listen, okay, I want to understand what we're really doing. But actually, without going too far away, I think last week, yeah, end of last week, I was speaking with actually a quite big operator in London, and he was telling me, listen, yeah, I know this is not right, but this is where we are at the moment, and this person has 3 people full time um, updating Excel files with all the data of their spaces and bookings and things and information. 3 people. My first reaction was, what about of those 3 people? They actually spend time with your customers, and they try to understand, how your customers, want to use the space, what they need to use the space, rather than updating Excel file. And and this person he's a very good person. He said, listen, I agree with you, but no, we're a big company, blah 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 blah. So yes, there is again, I'm probably repeating myself, but we need to make sure that when we do something, we challenge what we're doing. We ask ourselves why we're doing this one. Is this the right thing to do? Is it the right way of using the tech that we have today? For example, something that I hope I'm not going to be too controversial, but something that I really personally, I don't think is the right thing to do is, for example, using AI for customer service. When you go on a website and then you start chatting with a bot, you immediately know that is a bot. And then probably, I don't know if people do what I do. I try to say, listen, let me speak with a
I
person,
always
please.
do that.
Right, so
Human,
because you,
please.
yeah, exactly, you say please to a bot, and then if you know how bot behaves, they're going to remove the thing. It's not going to just even consider. But we tend to do this one because we want to speak to a human being. And to me, it's a bad signal. So the company that makes me speak with a bot, what is the value that I have for you if you don't even let me speak to some of your stuff, right? So I think that is, we there is a need to make sure that we do use the tech for providing the right experience, and not tech for the sake of using tech, because that is, on the long term, is pointless. We're going to look at this, in 30 years from now, we're going to say, listen, look at how silly we were.
Yeah, there's that is a that's one of the things I always kind of because I'm so judgy. I judge a company on, and there's there's different apps and things I use, and like I just won't. If that's exactly that point there, it makes me go, oh, I'm not. They're not invested in me, so they're trying to like automate me. But if they say we have this huge glossary or library of answers, try here, because most queries can be found in 25 seconds by looking here. And if you still can't find what you need, go over here. So they're really transparent. It's when they pretend
Yes.
when they try to dupe you into doing it. And the other, like we use like for I don't know ever. I've been on a thing called WP Engine for web hosting,
Hmm.
and it's because they're there are cheaper web hosting places, but their customer service is like prolific, and you always talk to someone, they sort it out really quickly, and they don't go the extra mile like overcompensate and then send you chocolate chip muffins in the post to say thank you. They just like sort the problem out really fast, and it never breaks. And that is really good customer service. And you just drop in the thing like human please, and you get a human in seconds. Or they've got a very good bot that knows.
No, but I think today, despite all the progresses we're making, and all the little video where we say that a bot is now able to persuade the human beings, I think we're still in a phase where you can spot when a chatbot is a chatbot. With images and videos, it's much easier still to recognize this. But yes, and I probably also judgy. And the point that I think to me is critical is use tech to, for example, to your point, provide a fantastic knowledge base that your staff can find the perfect answer for you in a second, and then give me a good customer service experience. Do not pretend, when you open a website and 5 seconds later there is a pop-up that says, hey, hi, I'm whatever name, how can I help you? I know
Welcome
there
to
is,
Mega Co-working, here for all
yes,
your needs.
I know there is no person behind that thing. So, um, and let's be clear, I'm a big fan of, of AI, I see a lot of potential there. Again, if we not use to do the wrong things faster and cheaper, but if we use that to challenge the status quo and do, new things, better things that serve us better.
Yeah, I've been in a lot of people listening to this will know Kofi and Urban MBA, and that is like Kofi's red hot on it. Like he's the first person I saw talking about AI in the way we do today, but that was back in 2019, and now he's talking about quantum computers and stuff. And I 90% of what happens, I don't understand what's going on, but I've learned over time how much time and energy you can save by focusing on the right things with AI, and getting it to pick up your dry cleaning is not a good use of AI.
Yeah, yes, yes. Also, I think, on top of what you're saying today, we are also on the, on the hype where everything is an AI, even things that we were doing 10 years ago, and they were maybe called something else, but now it's everything is an AI. But that's part of the society where we live in, where we everything is augmented and bigger and faster and awesome, and and all of these kind of things. But yes,
The last little
mhm.
point is like that AI thing. Like 5 years ago, everyone was talking about blockchain. I remember going to conferences and people would be talking about, oh, I think I'll have like chicken noodle soup for lunch with bread, and they'd be like, let's do that on the blockchain. Like everyone wants to blockchain it or AI it or social media it or podcast it. There's like this trying to squeeze things into places that don't need to be squeezed. What Where can we find you online and track what you do and send search bots after you and everything like that, Manuel?
Okay, so I am on LinkedIn as Manuel Conti, and or Pont.work, which is our website, and yes, that's where I don't have any other social media that I use, but that's what we do, and hopefully I'm always looking for speaking to people like we did today, exchanging ideas, and really try to provoke thoughts that can get us better and have better interaction with each other. And while this may sound romantic and a little bit naive, I really do think that this is what we have. It's despite all the tech, we remain and we stay human beings. One last thing that I saw last night and really made me chuckle is Anthropic, so the company that does Claude AI, and fantastic. I use Claude on a daily basis. So they are hiring, and they actually made you confirm that you have not used AI for your resume. And they say, why we encourage to use AI and for our customers, blah blah blah. We want you to be authentic and not use AI when you write your resume, which is a little bit, it's a funny thing, but then it's also a more profound thing on how we want to sometimes go back to really what are we doing here as human beings. And this goes for co-working when I'm walking in and I feel welcome and I feel heard. And then about using tech to remove the frictions and making sure that we can free more time understanding really, the people who are in our spaces.
Beautiful. I saw that. I knew you were going to say that thing about the hiring process as soon as you started that sentence. That is really interesting. I actually really agree with them, but I think it's quite brave to put that out.
Yeah, true.
And it's a little bit like, I remember somewhere there was all these people who work at Apple don't let their kids have mobile phones till they're 16.
Yes.
Like that.
Yes.
But beautiful chat today. Really loving getting to know you in this way. And so we've done where we can find you online. And now, ladies and gentlemen, if you go to our show notes, there's links to Manuel's company and his LinkedIn. Get in touch. and follow on LinkedIn. Nearly lost my thread there. And there's the big LinkedIn co-working group, which was started by a guy called Chris Messina, who invented the hashtag. That's how long ago that group was started. And then we have the Workspace Design Show coming up in London, where we'll be doing 3 workshops with the London Co-working Assembly, one with Kofi and about AI and how you use AI every day in your co-working space. So not about building spaceships and going to Mars, just like how do I get through my day and save time? And we'll have you all talking to each other so you can share with each other what actually works rather than hearing a lecture. And then we got our Unreasonable Hospitality chat there too. And coming up is the Co-working Alliance Summit. There'll be a link in there. And we've got a podcast, which was just before this one with Sam. And that's been organised by Hector, Sam and Ashley. And then there is the European Co-working Day. But wherever you are in the world, be careful out there because it is definitely a jungle.